welcome to Sacred Heart Music Center. I'm Mark Nikolowski. I'm on the board here, and just a couple announcements before we get going. Sacred Heart is a volunteer-run nonprofit, and it's dedicated to preserving this historic 19th century building and presenting music of all kinds. We've got a lot of volunteers here tonight. Let's give them a hand for helping out. Big shout out to Cade too for helping me move a big piece of heavy equipment this afternoon. So thanks, Cade. Let's see. I wanted to thank our sponsors here. First of all, we have Bent Paddle, Hotels, Radisson. We have Ursa Minor, Whole Foods, Builders Commonwealth, the North 103.3, the Vista Queen, and Carmody. And also, this show is being put together with funds from the Minnesota State Arts Board. And so they helped us a lot here, and I want to read a thank you to them. This activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Let's give them a hand, too. Thank you, State Arts Board. Yeah, and a couple show announcements. We have Rachel Kilgore and Zach Baltich coming here on April 4th, and they have a Minnesota, they have a McKnight Foundation grant, so they're putting together a collaboration there. And then Sarah Thompson and Peter Mayer will be doing their folk show, and that will be a benefit for Eco 3. Part of the tickets will go to them, and it's on Earth Week, I guess let's call it. The show is actually on April 24th, I believe. So check our website for the details on that, or our Facebook page. All right, well, let's get things started here. We have our special guest to lead things off here. We have Jay Gabler from the News Tribune, and we have Andrea Swensson, who wrote a biography about cornbread. And they're going to talk a little bit about cornbread and the way he fits into the Minnesota music scene and how he's been such a big contributor all these years. So take it away, Jay and Andrea. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Well, I feel right at home now, not just in Duluth and here at this beautiful, beautiful facility, but with an acknowledgement to the Legacy Amendment. Andrea and I, between us, have done so much work that has been, supported by the incredible funds available from the Legacy Amendment. I sometimes feel like when the day comes, my funeral will have to begin with an acknowledgement to the voters of Minnesota and the Arts and Cultural Heritage Amendment. So I'm so glad to be here with you, Andrea, and with all of you here in the building and online as we get ready to listen to a rare these days opportunity to hear Cornbread Harris perform live in Duluth, Minnesota, and have the opportunity to hear from Andrea about her incredible book about cornbread and her other adventures in music journalism. So I feel like we should start out, given that we are here in Duluth. Andrea is now based in the Twin Cities, but you do have some Northland history. Do you want to talk about your background in beautiful Moose Lake?
Absolutely. I love coming to Duluth because I get to drive past Moose Lake, and now I stop and get beer at the Moose Lake Brewery to try to support it. But yeah, I spent my early childhood in northern Minnesota. We did all of our grocery shopping every Saturday in Duluth because we lived in a small town. So I just have so many early memories of going to the Miller Hill Mall and going to record shopping at the Electric Fetus, and just being here as a kid and looking at that giant lake and going down in Canal Park. And yeah, it's a huge part of my upbringing.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Then you went on to an incredible career in music journalism that included a stint as music editor at City Pages. And I remember working in Twin Cities journalism myself at that time. The surprise when you announced that you were leaving City Pages, which seemed to me like the absolute dream job. City Pages, for those of you who don't know, was the Twin Cities alt weekly, covering arts and culture in the Twin Cities and other things happening down there. And Andrea announced that she was leaving for a job at The Current, the music station. I thought, wow, to be such a great writer and to leave for a job at a music radio station, how's it going to work? And well, they had support from the Legacy Amendment to support original music writing online. And you founded the local Current blog.
I sure did. I got it all ready for you so that you could start writing for it a year later. We were cube mates for quite a long time, and a lot of emails that I received were immediately followed up by turning to Jay and discussing what was going on in the local music scene. And it was a total experiment, like so much of the current is and still is to this day, to see what happens if you drop a writer into a radio station and start reporting on the local scene in more depth and bringing in musicians to be interviewed and going out and writing about news stories. I had such a blast in the writing aspect part of it, but then of course because I was surrounded by all these radio people, I started getting very curious about that too. And got a chance to be first a guest on the local show and then a host of the local show for 5 years. And it was just such an incredible experience the whole time to continue to push myself into all these different areas. We survived, both of us, the pivot to video era of music journalism. We had podcasts that we both worked on and just continued to try to find new ways to tell all of these stories about Minnesota music. And that's where I was when I started writing books, because my editor, Eric, reached out to me and said, hey, have you ever thought about writing in depth about some of this, music that you cover? And so that's been also something that really that seed got planted when I was at NPR.
And I'm sure all of you are very familiar with hearing Andrea and I, speak together, because I'm sure you listen to every single Christmas episode of the local show that we co-hosted. It's our joyous tradition that would include the sounding of Lori Line's bells that Andrea had from a Christmas concert she'd gone to as a kid. But,
up here, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, those Lori Line bells came from up here.
I love it. And I mean, it was there working with Andrea at the Current that I, experienced her insight as a music journalist, her good ear for music. I remember when we got that first single from Hippocampus, and I was like, kind of a poor man's Vampire Weekend. Andrea's like, I think this is good, and wrote one of the first big features on them. And now they hit headline Bayfront now. But I think one of the projects that we did in our time between the two of us at the Current, the one that sticks out to me now is an indication of the qualities that make you really exceptional as a music journalist, was the OK Show. A series of podcasts and web features talking to musicians about mental health. And you were really ahead of the curve in recognizing that having more open conversations about mental health was something that just needed to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing now that that's become so mainstream, that is just such a part of the dialogue now. But it was somewhat awkward for me to be reaching out to a lot of musicians who maybe I'd mentioned once in passing in an interview, or I'd talked to, backstage about various things, and said, how would you feel about talking to me about that for an hour and recording it and sharing it with the world? But that was such a great project to work on. And I was actually working on the OK Show when Prince died, which was such a collective moment of grief for so many people in our lives too. And I really felt like I just was supposed to be doing that at that time, because we had a lot to process, as they say.
Yes, and I think the way that the OK Show showed your recognition that musicians are human beings, and that side of their life needs to be acknowledged, as well as their art, put you in such good stead to do the incredible work you did and have done and are doing, covering Prince, his life, and his legacy, earning the trust, or at least curiosity, of Prince himself. But then beyond that, the entire Prince universe, really recognizing that, of course, Prince is a singular genius, but was surrounded by and collaborated with this whole world of musicians and business people and what have you, who helped, make Prince what he was. And yeah, I think that the work that you continue to do to this day really is so important, because it doesn't just look at Prince and his music, but helps open up that whole world, and the trust that you've earned from the people in that world has helped you tell their stories and then his story.
Well, the stories just started pouring out. I mean, when he died, there were so many memories that came to the surface. I remember Mary Lucia described it as I was just sitting purple Shiva for a year, holding these people's hands as we kind of tried to process what this meant for them and for their role and what he did. And I think also people were so respectful of his privacy and also pretty intimidated about speaking about him when he was alive. So there was just a lot that came out in the aftermath of people saying, hey, actually, I do have something I would like to add, and this maybe deepens your understanding of just how prolific he was, that he was writing multiple songs a day and recording with various bands, and in the early to mid 80s, rehearsing with Vanity Six and then The Time and then his own band and then going into the studio. It's really, you need all of those people to be able to piece together exactly how much he was doing. So it's just been such a ride for me to get to hear all of these stories and try to represent, authentically who he was and what he was doing.
Well, then you told the history of the Minneapolis sound as well. You mentioned starting to work on books when you were at the Current, and one of those books was Gotta Be Something Here, the rise of the Minneapolis sound that delved into the history of black music in the Twin Cities and in Minnesota, and has so much overlap now with your book Deeper Blues with Cornbread.
Yeah, I feel like so much of this work that I'm doing right now started about a decade or more ago now, but working on that book and doing that history into the, really early funk and soul and R&B music in Minnesota, and also those neighborhoods of musicians that were coming out of this place that Prince made famous, it really opened my eyes to so much about Minnesota history, not just music, but the political history, social history, and I think it set me down this path of realizing that there are so many stories that have been overlooked, and that I could find these people and interview them and shine a light on the stories. And so that is how I really got interested in Cornbread, because I knew that he was part of this band, the Augie Garcia Quintet, in the 50s, and that they recorded what is believed to be the first 45 of rock and roll music in Minnesota. So when he came into NPR to be interviewed by me, I brought that up, and he was like, you know about Augie Garcia? And it just opened this kind of channel with him where we could talk about these things that happened at this point 70 years ago, but he still remembered a lot about it, and he remembered what it felt like and how exciting it was to be in this really like hot band and playing this, club that would be packed with people 4 nights a week. And then, so we did that interview for NPR, and then, a few years passed before we actually started working together. But I feel like because I got interested in this topic and started working on that first book, it really helped to just forge that connection with him immediately.
I imagine Cornbread was used to music journalists who think that male rockers wearing shorts on stage started with AC/DC. No. Augie Garcia, right, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll talk a little bit more about Augie Garcia in a minute. But since we are here in Duluth, I was just texting with Andrea about the fact that I delved into the News Tribune archives, the Duluth News Tribune archives, to see what I could find about Cornbread's history here in Duluth, and there sure is some. He has played in Duluth several times. Put your hands together if you're in this audience tonight and you have seen Cornbread play in Duluth before. See, 1, 2, a couple. So yeah, so So he played at the Fitger's Brewhouse several times in the early 2000s and played the Bayfront Blues Fest a couple times, 2005 and 2010. So I think that does still mean it's been over 15 years. So big deal to have Cornbread back here in Duluth. And sort of thinking about Cornbread and everything I've learned about him and everything that has happened over the course of the book that you've written kind of in collaboration with Cornbread, I think back to the years we were just sort of talking about when we were both working in Twin Cities music journalism, doing the thing, recommending shows. Cornbread was, he's when we say he's a Minnesota music institution, I mean, and not just like an honorary sense, but he's out there playing gigs week after week after week. And so I wonder, for people maybe who are not super familiar with Cornbread as an artist, if you think back to like, say 2010, you're at City Pages, you're writing an A-list recommendation blurb, Cornbread's playing. How do you describe, sort of concisely to someone in sort of the era before everything that's happened the last few years has happened, who Cornbread is as an artist and what they might expect at one of his shows?
Well, I think a lot of times people, describe him as he's been this kind of omnipresent figure who's as you said, playing multiple nights a week, often in residencies at particular venues. But his history goes back so much farther than that. I mean, the Augie Garcia band wasn't even his first band, and that was 70 years ago. He was in a swing band before that called the Swing Masters. And he led, many different iterations of groups for, decade after decade as music changed, and he adapted to all these different things. So, yeah, he had a swing orchestra like Duke Ellington, then he was in this rock and roll band, and then he kind of stripped down to more of like a jazz combo. Then he had a blues band called the Ice Blue Band, and then started doing the Cornbread and Friends in, the late 80s, early 90s. So he's been doing just that era of his career for 40 years. I mean, it's really incredible. So to answer your question, I probably wouldn't be able to write a blurb because I wrote obviously a whole book about all of the things that he's done, but I think I just cannot overemphasize how much of music history he has participated in. And it's really incredible to me to think of one person traveling through all of these different things. And at the end of the day, as you're about to experience, playing much the same music. He's found these songs that he loves that are timeless. He's found a way to play them that translates to all of these different eras as, styles come and go. And he just is still doing it as he looks at, next month turning 99, which is so incredible.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I'm glad it's always easy to talk with you, Andrea, which I'm glad for, because otherwise this could be a challenging interview, because I feel like the default, if you're asking someone about a book they've written or an album they've put out or some work of art or creative work that they've put out, you ask them the story, how did this come together? How did this happen? How did this take its shape? But your book, and if any of you have read the book, you understand, sort of tells the story of its own creation. So you learn as you read the book how this came to pass. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how inevitable it felt that the book would have to take that form rather than being a more conventional biography of Cornbread.
Well, I once again have to give a shout out to my editor, Eric, who is here and has been such a champion for me, and also a therapist when I get to hard parts, in which there are, writing longer form work. And, I probably wrote the first chapter of this book maybe 5 or 6 times because I just couldn't get it. I, in my head, thought I'm writing a biography. It should be, scholarly and detached and third person, and it's going to tell the story of his, amazing life. But my experience of working with Cornbread was very collaborative. I would go visit him every week. I still visit him every week, now almost 5 years later. And I would interview him about different things that I was wondering about, and then I would take what he told me, and it would be little snippets of names or venues or recordings or other people that he knew, and I would go hit the archives and look in all the different newspaper archives and library archives, and then come back with what I had found. And we kept doing that until I started finding things that to me were just jaw-dropping. At one point, Cornbread had told me very early on in the process that he was orphaned as a young boy. At age 3, he lost both of his parents when they were all living down in Chicago, where he was born. And then he went through this series of foster homes in a lot of different cities. Like he and his younger sister were traveling to Detroit, and then they would, get sent to Denver, and they were getting kind of like ping-ponged around. And then finally he landed in St. Paul and found his grandparents. And he told me he, didn't have any records of this time in his life because it was just constant uproot. And so I was looking for information about his, he gave me the names of his parents and the kind of rough years they would have been born. And lo and behold, there happened to be this newspaper from 1923 about his mother becoming the organist at a church in St. Paul. Which was, incredible on multiple levels because we learned that she was a musician herself and that, obviously has such a musical legacy. But there was a picture. Unfortunately, I couldn't see anything in the picture when I was looking online at the digital microfilm. But I ended up going to the Historical Society, and we pulled up the microfilm, and she actually was able to do some adjusting on the dials, this librarian who I totally roped in on my story. I was like, he's never seen his mother. We have to do this. She's like, we're going to do this. And so we're doing all this, tweaking, and then you could kind of start to see these like contours of her face. And I was able to take some pictures and print it out and bring it to Cornbread. And that is a moment that is way beyond anything I'd ever experienced as a music journalist. I mean, at this point, it's like that Finding Your Roots show or something. We're just having this like experience together where he's looking at a picture of his mother. So there were moments like that that were so profound for me to experience, and I knew that I needed to somehow share that. So I went back to the beginning of the book and I started writing it in first person and really just laying it out. Like, here's what happened. Here's how I met Cornbread. Here's how I got pulled into his life. Here's how we started working together. And I really did that. And I think I resisted doing that because I'm Minnesotan, because I'm from Moose Lake, and you don't talk about yourself or center yourself. But I did that because I really wanted people to feel like they were sitting next to me and having this experience. And I'm really grateful now that I did, because I've heard from other people that have read it that they did feel like they really got to know him on a deeply personal level, because we kind of went on this ride together.
Well, it's crazy to think that this whole sort of transformative experience of writing this book and everything that happened during the time you were writing this book could not have, there was a possibility that it could not have happened. You know, Cornbread come to an advanced point in his life, and you know, this research hadn't been done, the book hadn't been written. There'd been a million little articles that had been popping up in news sources over the decades, but it's amazing to think that the stars just sort of aligned for you and Cornbread to go on this journey together.
Well, Cornbread likes to say that, I'll say it as he says it, I am a blessed dude. That is his catchphrase. He says it many times every time I see him. And over time, as I spent more time with him, and then also his son, Jimmy Jam, the legendary producer, Cornbread and Jimmy and I really got to know each other very well through this process. And the only thing I can say at this point is that I am also now a blessed dude. It's been my experience, and I hope that everyone that sees Cornbread and reads this book and hears about his story feels like they're a blessed dude too, because he's just such an incredible, joyful person, and he's been a real gift in my life.
Yeah. So to get back to, we're tracking Cornbread's life. We talked about his birth in Chicago and what you've learned about his early life and coming to Minnesota and his family, and then starts his music career. And then, as you say, I feel like now one thing that has happened as a result of this book project is that now I feel like every capsule biography of Cornbread Harris mentions the fact that he played on and sang lead on the B-side of Minnesota's first rock and roll record from 1955, Hi-Yo Silver. So just thinking back now, having learned so much about that record, that era, what do you think about when you think about the significance of that record, and you have the physical 45, and having an artist like Cornbread who now has a life, career, and memory spanning basically Minnesota's entire rock and roll era?
Yeah, well, I now have multiple copies because I apologize if you've ever bid for that 45 on eBay. I waited until there were 5 seconds left and outbid you because I wanted to make sure I had the best copy possible. But that is one of my passions in life is, archiving history and looking at these physical artifacts that get left behind by musicians. And there's this project happening right now to archive all Minnesota music, and it's really fascinating to me that you can bookend it, with these kind of milestone recordings. There's what's believed to be the first R&B record by the Big M's, which came out in 1958, and this, first rock and roll record in 55, and then of course there's all the polka and stuff that preceded rock and roll. But it's to think that a single person participated in that much of history just kind of blows my mind. So it's very meaningful. And at that point, it's not like people were going into a fancy recording studio. Those records were made in somebody's house. Cornbread remembered that different musicians were in different rooms of this house so that the sound wouldn't bleed and there were cords running down the hall, and it's very early technology. And it actually sounds so intimate. Like you feel like you're kind of in the room with them because it's this just really raw recording. So I just love that because, you can look at pictures and you can hear stories, but when you actually hear the music, that's where I feel like the history really comes alive.
And in that the current session that you were talking about, your interview with Tom Weber and Cornbread, he really sort of drew out the connective musical tissue that brought that song together, Hi-O Silver.
Yeah, so Cornbread really liked this old blues song called Going to Chicago, and that was kind of his staple song that he always sang in the Augie Garcia set. And the cool thing about that is that I went to the Minnesota History Center. They have a VHS tape of the Augie Garcia band playing in the 90s when they reunited. And Cornbread's there singing Going to Chicago. And before they play, the whole band lines up and Augie Garcia points at Cornbread and he's like, he taught me everything I know about the blues shuffle and he brought it into this band and taught me all these great old songs like Going to Chicago. So Cornbread was riffing on Going to Chicago at practice one day and then Augie started kind of improvising on top of it. These 6 more months we're going on the road, baby, and they're saying hi ho, silver. And when Cornbread told this whole story, he was playing it, on the piano, and just I think my head might have momentarily exploded because it was just such a great capture of this history from all these years ago, and he still remembers how it all happened.
And then there were those decades of gigging in various bands, just playing busily all across the Twin Cities in some venues that are long gone, like the River Road Club, and some venues that are still very much there, some venues that sadly recently closed, R.I.P. Palmer's. When you think about Cornbread's decades as a working musician, like the most recent basically half century plus, what do you think would surprise people about in terms of what Cornbread's story says about the history of the Minnesota music scene in recent decades?
Well, so I tried to make a list at one point of every place that he had played, and it was long. I think I got to 200, and then I realized that there's just going to be so many more that I can't find because they either weren't, advertised in a newspaper or it's just long gone and kind of lost to the sands of time. But I think for Cornbread especially, he is long been a musician who plays almost as like he's part of the ambiance of a space. So he would do residencies at the Loring Pasta Bar or the Nikki's Cafe in the Warehouse District, all these places where people would be eating food and getting together and having drinks with people, maybe celebrating birthdays, and he would sing them happy birthday. But he was kind of half the focus of attention and half just part of like the vibe of the place. And I think that has allowed him to develop this gift for really connecting with people because he knows that those fleeting moments when he has your attention are extremely precious and he's going to milk it and he's going to take advantage of that. And he is just one of the most charming people that I've ever gotten to hang out with. So I think it tells the story of these spaces that maybe not as frequently anymore. It just hosted musicians, professional musicians, because it was important to them that the people that came in and hung out at these places had live music. And I don't think that we're seeing that as much anymore. Now it's either you're going and you're paying a cover charge and you're going to see a band that you're focused on completely, or you're not having live music. There's just something playing overhead. And Cornbread is, really one of the last people in that old guard. Like he was a member, it still is a very proud member of the Twin Cities Music Union. For many years could only play at union shops because he had his card, and that was just a huge part, like a reality for working musicians that is no longer true.
Well, and not every musician would be comfortable with that kind of a career where you are, as you say, sort of sometimes you're part background, sometimes you go into the foreground, there's a lot of interaction with the audience. A lot of artists, including many we've known, interviewed, whatever, are more like, no, I have my thing, I do my thing, you hear my thing, and then I go off stage. And that's fine, that's great. Some of my favorite artists are that way. But it's meaningful that this has been a way of making music that has been rewarding, it seems, for Cornbread.
Oh, absolutely. And, he, like one of the biggest pride and joys in his life is just when he had someone come up to him at one of these places and they had a request and he knew that song and he was able to play it for them and they, dropped a little tip in his jar and that's what it's all about. It's about, having those moments where you can lift someone's spirits, you can make someone's day, you can help them celebrate an anniversary or a birthday. He's played, at this point probably hundreds of weddings and bar mitzvahs and all these different celebratory occasions, and I think for him it's really about that, being part of making someone happy and just making their day a little bit better.
Making you feel like a blessed dude. Well, we should certainly talk about a little bit more about Jimmy Jam. I remember, in the years, when we were at the idea of doing something big around cornbread was always sort of tossed around that, oh my gosh, this, local musician who has this incredible history, would it be a podcast? Would it be a series of articles? Would it be, who knows, right? And nothing ever quite came to fruition until your book happened, which is amazing. But I remember the assumption was always in those years, back, 10 years ago, that whatever happened involving cornbread, we would certainly acknowledge that he's the father of Jimmy Jam, one of the most successful producers in pop history. But the assumption was Jimmy Jam would never be involved because they just weren't, really connected at that time. And one of the really many extraordinary things about this project, this book, Deeper Blues, is that during the course of this book being written, Jimmy Jam and Cornbread reconnected to the point where not only are they talking, they're playing together. I can't believe I can say out loud, I've seen Jimmy Jam and Cornbread playing together on stage, which they've now done multiple times and have forged this sort of beautiful, renewed relationship. Just what are your sort of top of mind thoughts when you think about how amazing that is that has come to pass during this book project?
Well, I mean, I really have to give credit to Jimmy for reaching out to me because that kind of lit the fire under me that this needed to happen. But he wanted to get back in touch with his father, and he knew that I had interviewed Cornbread and was just connected to a lot of people in the scene, and he asked me for help. And I really thought in that moment, I'm just gonna play some bit part in their lives. I'm gonna connect them to the right people, and then, they'll go on and have their happy story. What I didn't realize is that I was going to become the third wheel in Cornbread and Jam, which is their new duo. Because, it started as part of the book. I told Jimmy that because they had this reunion, they were able to see each other, that it really made me feel like I need to do this project about cornbread, and that there's so much history to be told. And I asked Jimmy if he would want to participate. And that turned into getting on a Zoom with Cornbread and I, which very quickly went from an interview to them just playing piano together, like within 5 minutes. I mean, you think about someone that you've been estranged from for 50 years, instead of, hi, how have you been? Who are your kids? The general questions, it's like, I'm going to play in B flat, watch this. And then they realized that even though they were on Zoom and there's a lag, that one of them could play and then the other one could respond. And then the other one would play and then they would respond. And the first few times that happened, I just involuntarily burst into tears because I could tell that there were things that they were communicating to each other that were only through the music that were very profound. And it was really emotional. And the three of us have probably cried a lot more tears together than we have in other areas of our life. But to see the communication and the healing that happened through that musical exchange was very, very deep. And then when Jimmy came home and actually got on stage with Cornbread, then it was just really next level. To see someone who has experienced so much, commercial success and industry success, to come home and play at the Hook and Ladder Theater in South Minneapolis on a keyboard next to his dad. I think he was really worried that he was going to overpower Cornbread, so I saw him turn his volume way down, and he was almost just like afraid, like tapping the keys, like, oh gosh. And then as time went on, Cornbread looked over and he's like, are you going to play or what? And he finally, ripped this big solo, but it was so fun to see them find their, footing being with each other, and really to see Jimmy revert back to being a 10, 11-year-old kid, because his whole career started as a drummer in Cornbread's band in the 70s. They would play at all these supper clubs out on Lake Minnetonka, and Jimmy, hadn't even met Terry Lewis yet. He was just starting to become a musician, and was hired by Cornbread to, play these gigs. So it almost felt like they were kind of reverting back to that dynamic from 50 years ago where Jimmy's the student and Cornbread is the teacher. And that still is to this day. Actually, just last Sunday, Jimmy was in town and went to the Schooner Tavern and sat in with Cornbread, and I noticed that same thing. You know, he's just sitting there looking at his dad. What's his hands doing? What's he playing? And then he would try to, you know, get on board. And there's just something really, really incredible about that. You know, he's now 66 years old, but he's still a student when it comes to his relationship with his father.
It's beautiful. I was just thinking about how you, if I have my timeline correct, first really met and interviewed Jimmy and Terry, because it was, if I'm correct, around the time of Super Bowl Live, when the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis, and Jimmy and Terry curated this once in a lifetime, maybe once in history, lineup of Minnesota artists playing free shows on Nicollet Mall. And yeah, so you interviewed them about that. But I was thinking about that because, as some of you may know, Minnesota is making a bid for the 2028 NFL Draft, which is not the Super Bowl, but it's a big multi-day thing. It'll be centered on US Bank Stadium. And I'm thinking, can we get a little mini, Minnesota Live back if that happens? But yeah, so thinking about Jimmy's shared musical history with his dad, so we've been talking a lot about Cornbread's music, but to think about that music that Jimmy had made in the meantime, including a few songs I don't need to name, but you probably have heard a lot on the radio and on your CDs and on streaming services. How do you, now having explored this part of Jimmy's history, his youth with his dad and reconnecting with his dad, how does that make you listen differently to the music that he's made with Terry and the artists they've collaborated with?
Well, I certainly think that his ability to sit next to another musician and improvise is something that he learned very early on from Cornbread. His piano playing is all, the first things that he ever learned on piano were from Cornbread. Something that he said at the book release show is that Cornbread taught him all the different variations of all the chords and taught him how to play a major 7, and that became his favorite chord, and that is so, represented in all of the different hits he wrote for Janet and for, Boyz II Men and all these different people. But I think there is something really poignant about, those early moments when you're sitting down at a piano and really learning how it all works, to have your dad there showing you. I don't think you ever forget that, even if you haven't talked in decades. So I think for Jimmy, it's been really important. We started working on this book together in the lead up to he and Terry being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And for Jimmy to be able to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at the same time that he was acknowledging Cornbread's influence on him was very profound for both of them. There was a moment I went to LA. I wasn't cool enough to get into the ceremony, but I did go to the pre-party that Jam and Lewis threw. And I got to meet Jimmy's whole family for the first time, and Cornbread had given me this message to tell Jimmy, and he just said, tell him I'm so proud of him and I love him. And I got to say that to Jimmy on this huge night, the eve of this huge moment. And he said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Your dad is so proud of you and he loves you." And I started crying, and he was just like, "Thank you." And it was just very, very poignant, one of many, many moments that we've all shared together. But to be able to really acknowledge where you come from, I think is so important, especially as you get to the age where, now Jimmy's at an age where he wants to be that mentor and that guiding light in the industry for the future generations. And really, he loves to give advice, as Cornbread does, to people that are just starting out, and to, show how he did things. For him to acknowledge that this is all things that he learned from his dad is, very poetic at this point.
Yeah, to think that what he got from his dad was obviously a musical gift, but also sort of the gift of musical relationship, which I think, a super producer of this era would be Jack Antonoff, who he kind of becomes a punchline because it seems like his name just pops up everywhere. If there's some huge record, oh, it's a Jack Antonoff, there he is again. But clearly all these artists keep working with him because he must have that kind of a gift for not just creating music, but helping you create the music that you want to create. And I think about Jimmy and Terry's work with Janet Jackson. They're, the biggest artists. There's someone who found Jimmy and Terry at a tough point in her professional career, and to think that what they helped her unlock in herself is something that, may have stemmed from some of the musical lessons and interpersonal lessons that Jimmy learned from his dad.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's just, more and more important to both of them that that relationship is known. So now I'm just their publicist, the Cornbread and Jam publicist, to tell you that these men are both just so incredibly talented, but also such deep human beings, and that they have just been so vulnerable, which is really, an incredible thing for two men at any age to be. But to watch them go through this experience, it's been just an honor.
Well, thank you, Andrea, for sharing your knowledge and your experiences. I think people are here for a concert, so we should probably get off the stage fairly soon and make way for the legendary Cornbread Harris to entertain you all as only he can. But before we wrap it up, we should talk about what's coming next for you and Cornbread.
Yes, well, I just, for many reasons, do not feel done with Cornbread and his story. It just keeps unfolding in many ways. Cornbread and I like to joke that we have to write a sequel to the book at this point, because so much has happened from age 95 to now 99 that it could really fill a whole other book. But I'm not writing a sequel. What I am doing is working on a short documentary film about Cornbread with a director that I met because she was working for the ill-fated Prince documentary for Netflix. And she and I became fast friends because of our Prince connection. And we are going to be filming him at the Capri Theater, where he taught piano lessons for 15 years and was a huge part of their community theater program. And it feels really great to be investing more in his story and his connection to North Minneapolis, and putting him on the screen, because as you'll see, he's continues to be so expressive, and his playing is still so just quick and light and wonderful, at now 98 and 11/12. So I'm excited to share that part of him with people.
Amazing, yeah. The Capri Theater, some of you may also know, it's a North Minneapolis institution, also known as the site of Prince's first official solo
That's right.
shows. So a lot of history there, and there's to be more. Cornbread is going to be on screen, but first he'll be on stage. We'll wrap it up and give it over to Cornbread. I will mention that the plan is for after the show, Andrea and Cornbread will both be in back signing items and merch, including copies of Andrea's remarkable book, Deeper Bread.
Oh, there we go. Deeper Bread.
Deeper Bread.
That's the sequel.
Deeper Bread. I nailed it up until now. Up until now. Oh, boy. Maybe I should have had dinner. Anyway, Deeper Blues, incredible book. Pick it up after the show. But first, please help me thanking Andrea Swensson for being here tonight to help share the incredible story of Cornbread Harris. And in just a few more minutes, the man himself will be up here, Cornbread Harris, with his band. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Hello.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Cornbread.
You get great.
It is my honor to introduce a man who has been performing in Minnesota for over 7 decades now, from the swing era of the 40s to the rock scene of the 50s to lounges across Minnesota in the 60s and 70s, a blues band in the 80s, and a forever leader of the band, ever-evolving band Cornbread and Friends, going on 40 years now. Please put your hands together for Cornbread Harris.
Things in G.
Gee.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
Things in what?
In G.
Things ain't what they used to be in G. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Oh, thank you very much. We are the Andice Blue Band. How about the deeper,
What?
deeper blue?
Let's play the deeper blues in C. There we go.
That's what it's called, huh?
That's what we call it.
Okay.
Don't forget there's words to this song.
Start it together. We'll start together with the drummer. Let's try that.
No, I don't know.
You got it? All right.
There it is, there it is.
One, two, 1, 2, 3.
Point of attack is behind the back. Treat any way that you choose. Take a little time off. Don't hurry back. Don't have anything to lose. Eat at his table, your children and you. He's very, very able, he wants to do for you. Go ahead and hurt him. You know you got it made. You can always say, how you doing, babe? Never tell him the way that you really feel. Oh, yeah. Never mind. goodness.
That's Cornbread's original composition called "The Deeper Blues."
Thank you. You got that
Yeah.
right. My goodness.
So we got a couple of songs that are about trains, and one is just kind of like a train song by
You think so?
association. We're going to play those for you now. First, we're going to play Jimmy Forrest's composition that he played with the Basie Band called "The Night Train" in G flat.
Thank
So that arrangement was a cornbread arrangement, and it's remained almost unchanged for these 30 years or so. And we were playing at a block party one year.
Yeah.
And we were playing that song, and the very last note, do do da dun da dun da dun. He goes, boom, and the keyboard just went. It was the last note. It was the last song of the set, and it was the last note of the song, and it was perfect. Somebody said they got it on video, but I haven't seen it.
They got it, huh?
Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there. So the next one, we're going to feature Maurice Jaycox on the vocals.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, yeah.
he's a well-known...
Amen. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Good deal.
He sang for many, many years in Willie and the Bees. He's also had many fabulous bands of his own, and he's come to sing with us. So I guess we are blessed to have him here. So we all blessed dudes.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Key of C, the A train.
A-train.
Here comes the drum.
train, you'll find quick straight to Sugar Hill in Harlem. If you take the A train, you'll find quick straight to Sugar Hill in Harlem. Hurry, hurry now, it's coming. Can't you hear those diesels humming? Ooh, that beat, you missed the A train. You'll miss quick straight to Sugar Hill in Harlem. They all know. You take the A-train, you'll find quick Sugar Hill in Harlem. You must take the A-train to find quickest Sugar Hill in Harlem. Hurry, hurry now, it's come. Can't you hear those diesels humming? You miss the A-train, you'll miss quick Sugar Hill in Harlem.
Okay, so everybody knows that's a Duke Ellington composition, or actually it was Billy Strayhorn who played in his band sometimes, mostly just his writing partner. But the Ellington Orchestra had recorded that many times, and so many times that people got sick of it. But Cornbread used to tell me all the time that Duke Ellington not only was good at playing the piano, but what he mostly did was play the musicians in his band. And he would play them against one another to make them play harder. So he would get, yeah, like I do with Doug. But he would say something to Ben, he'd say, Ben Webster, he'd say, Johnny Hodges was talking about you, and he'd go to Johnny Hodges, he'd go, Ben Webster was talking this about you, and the two of them would be looking at each other whole time, but they played really, really aggressive and made some really great tunes out of that. That's right. Then there's
What?
Organ grinder.
grinder, organ grinder, organ grinder, wait on Rampart Street. Said your sweet music is really hard to beat. Organ grinder, organ grinder, you don't have to pass that hat no more. She said your sweet music is what I've been waiting for. grinder way down on Rampart Street. She said, your sweet music is really hard to beat. Organ grinder, organ grinder, you don't have to pass that hat no more. She said, your sweet music is what I've been waiting for.
Clarence Williams composition.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think we're just going to go straight 75 and then, I don't know, what do you guys think? Early in the morning? Clap, clap, clap. Okay. They said keep going. They said keep going. No break.
I got a gal, a real fine gal. She ain't no loafer. She's just a little country girl. And I love her. A little country girl. I said I love her. My little country girl. I said I love her. It brings a lot of joy into my world. Some people say she's lazy. I know that's a great big lie. Some people say she's lazy. I know that's a great big lie. She's been doing my work for 3 long years. I'm perfectly satisfied. No, my baby loves me. She's glad that I am her man. I said, I know my baby loves me. And she's glad that I'm her man. And she feeds me right straight from her hand. Well, some people want to know why I follow that gal around. Some people want to know why I I'll follow that gal around. Well, there ain't no need to explain. Oh yeah, no. got a gal, a real fine gal. She ain't no far. She's just low, a little country girl.
Say it again.
I got a gal, a real fine gal. She ain't no far. She's just a fine little girl.
A little old country gal.
My goodness. Watch out. Be careful. Oh, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, no.
So we're going to play a song that was written by James Samuel Cornbread Harris Sr.
It was, huh?
along with a guy named Charles Darvaux way back in the Roman numeral days. And that's about all I know of it, except I know that it's not the other one.
No, it's not the other one.
Yeah. And
When the chicks hear me sing that holler more, 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 make the street gonna look candy store, candy man. Oh, candy man, candy man. Want my love, run as fast as you can. Find a girl today that won't want bubble gum no more. Want a song with a beat, a little something more, candy man. Yes, candy man. Want my love, run as fast as you can. Got a sweet tooth, good as you crave. Well, little girl, you better behave, candy man. Yeah, candy man. Candy man. Want my love, run as fast as you can. Sugar. All you pretty girls, run as fast as you can. Find yourself a loving candy man, candy man. Yes, candy man. Candy man. Want my love, run as fast as you can. Find a girl that get it on bubble gum no more. A song with a beat, a little something more. Say candy man. Lord, Lord, candy man. Candy man. Got my love, run as fast as you can. 60 steady, fast as you can. Makes your street corner look like the candy man's a candy man. He's candy man. Candy man. Want my love, run as fast as you can. So right.
Yeah. Watch out.
That one's called the Candyman, but
That's
not
it.
that Candyman.
That's
This
what
is the
it's
other
called.
one.
Candyman, yeah. All right.
Well, all right then. Good job, you guys. We're having a gig here. That's right. Okay, so the No Kings people wanted Cornbread to sing this song tomorrow, but it's just a little bit too much with all the stuff that's going on. Plus, it's going to be such a huge event, and it's kind of like, well, if Bruce Springsteen wants to sing it, he can find it on YouTube, and then he can sing it. That would be great. Wouldn't that be something if Bruce Springsteen sing that song?
What?
Anyway, just saying. Bruce, if you're watching.
Bruce.
Haven't we had enough debate?
Haven't you had enough debate?
Yeah.
Want to put the world back together, Cornbread?
Put the world back together. Put the world back together. World back together again. Put the world back together. Put the world back together. Put the world back together again. Haven't we had enough debate? I hear someone say, let's wait I think we better get together before it's way too late to put the world back together. The world back together. Put the world back together again. Right in the country sounds insane. Smell your polluted water, feel your acid rain. You cut down your forest and you don't plant them back again. I'd like to put the world back together. Put the world back together. The world back together again. Politicians are talking fear and hate. Say, let's have a war, blow everybody away. That's really stupid. Listen to me when I say, put the world back together. Put the world back together. Put the world, put the weather back again.
Can everybody sing it now?
Put the world back together. Put the world back together. Yeah, back together.
It's really powerful when everybody sings. When nobody sings.
Put the world back together. Put the world back together. Put the world back together again. Back together. World. Oh yeah, put the world. Put the world back together. Put the world back together. The world back together.
Everybody sing, the horns play now.
Back together. One more time. Put the world back together. Put the world back together. Put the world back together. Put it back together.
Mr. James Samuel Cornbread Harris Sr.
Oh, say hello. Oh. Hello. Hi. Woo. Oh, my. Oh, look at you guys. Oh, listen. Oh, man. Wow. What a group out here. Listen at these people. Okay, guys, that's enough. Move it up, Cornbread. Move it up. Oh, come on. Never mind. That's enough. That's enough. Come on now. Yourself.
You know, all that stuff is really great, Cornbread, but do you know how to play the blues?
Oh, wow.
Somebody was asking me if you knew how to play the blues.
No, I don't know how to play the blues. No, I don't know how to play the blues. I usually do stuff like this. Ooh. Yeah, come on, one more time.
Life is a school, lesson good, but the learning sometimes brings pain. Knowing at once you're just a dunce, try and error, lost and gain. It takes some do-rag. Lunkery's a slow, slow train, child ever lost in game. Finding your own place in the sun doesn't come the easy way. Making me feel life is so mean. It takes a deep. Monkery's a slow, slow train, keeping on the beat.
One more time. Rocky Road.
Maurice J. Cox, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My. Oh, here he goes again. Thank you. Well, you keep turning me around so I can see the folks. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Say good night, Cornbread.
Live it up. Good night, Cornbread.
Good night, Cornbread.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Kind group up. Those applause people. Boy, they got it going on. See what happens when they quit applauding? Goes into complete silence. Yeah, okay. A rhapsody.
Boy, your living room sure has gotten big.
Something's got to be.
All right, everybody say good night, Cornbread.
Good night, Cornbread.
Okay. Yeah, good night, Cornbread. Thank you. Good night, Cornbread.
I don't know if you guys get down to Minneapolis all that much, but we play every Sunday down at the Schooner Tavern from 5 to 7. A thing
right.
called the Church of Cornbread.
That's right. Talk about
And yeah. Thank you for everybody coming out tonight. And thank you for the Sacred Heart Event Center for having us here tonight, because it was such a, we didn't know what to expect, but hey, this is a really great thing you got going on here, so really appreciate it. Say goodnight, Scotty. So this horse walks into a bar and the bartender says, "Hey fella, why the long face?"
All right, we're going to go sign some books down here. That's where I'm going.
Thanks for coming, everybody. We have a wedding in here tomorrow, and if you have any